What's going on, everybody? Happy Monday. A lot of stuff to talk about that happened this week, and I completely lied about this episode. It's going to be a little bit more than just college baseball, potentially. Let's just hop right into it. This is your Sports Digest. I'm your host, Alex McNinch. And last episode, I said that coming into today on Monday, it was going to be pretty much a non-basketball show. And then the NBA just went ahead and said, hey, Alex, screw everything you had ideaed and planned for. And we're just going to absolutely screw up your plans. So got some stuff to talk about. Trades happening, a lot of rumors. A suspension was announced. Some important stuff to go over and talk about, because this is the best week in sports right here. It is my Christmas pretty much. The NBA draft is on Thursday. I'm still planning on getting you guys my full mock draft on Wednesday as an episode, either Wednesday or Thursday. Probably Wednesday. It'll end up being an episode, depending on how I feel. Personal stuff going on with my teeth, so we'll see how much I'm able to talk after that, or wanting to talk after that. But let's just go and talk about the big thing that happened on Friday. And I had a fear that immediately upon uploading this podcast, which is a thing I normally do, is I upload this podcast and then massive news drops or big rumor happens. And there was nothing slight of that on Friday after the podcast dropped. In the morning, it was announced by Adrian Wojnarowski and Adam Silver, or through Adam Silver, that Ja Morant's suspension length is officially going to be 25 games. And the initial reaction to that is happy for me. And obviously, I don't want to be happy that Ja got suspended at all, even though it was happening no matter what. You can't fight it. But I think at my immediate reaction, looking in the general retrospect of what everybody had said it could potentially be, everybody's talking about, oh, is it going to be a full season, or maybe he's going to be suspended to the All-Star break, when that was never going to happen. Do you think the NBA is going to suspend their superstar for half of the season? What kind of revenue do you think that's going to generate for the league? They were obviously never going to do that, but the concern was there that it was going to be a lengthy suspension. And I talked about on here, and you had probably seen all over, the 18-game range, so that he's still eligible for awards maybe, or 17 games, maybe up to 20. And 25 was the number they landed on. Understandable. Ja Morant released a statement basically just apologizing to the NBA, the Grizzlies, his teammates, the city of Memphis, commissioner, all the big name people. Some of the highlights to talk about this. He says, "I'm sorry for the harm I've done to the kids who look up to me. I'm sorry for failing you as a role model. I promise I'm going to be better." That is probably the most important thing he said throughout all of that, because there was a lot of talk about, how is this guy going to be the face of the league if he is setting this type of example for kids, being able to wave around firearms and stuff like that? That's a whole other conversation that's not for my podcast, but, understandable that, he realizes he is an icon in the NBA. He is a superstar. He is a trendsetter. Everybody started hitting the gritty because Justin Jefferson did it. And now all of the NBA fans started doing it because Ja started doing it. They started doing the goggles because Ja does it. It's a parade inside my city. You hear that all the time because Ja started all of this. It's just, there is no doubt in my mind that he is one of the top superstars in this league that has the most impact on children. You see the shoe sales. You see all these slogans like I just mentioned. It's a big thing. So for him to mention the kids and becoming a role model for them, that was a big thing for me, I think. Obviously, talks about the sponsors. He's going to be a better representative of the brand. And then here's the big one here. And to all my fans, I'm going to make it up to you. I promise. Now, obviously, he said this the last time he got in trouble for everything. But you would think after the second time he's going to really mean it. And I'm hoping that these 25 games and other activities he cannot do will kind of, put him back to a realization of, hey, look, I'm so grateful to be in the NBA. This is an opportunity I can't let slip away from me. I'm already losing out on $50 million estimated to be $50 million. That's a big thing. He missed out on the Supermax contract he could have earned. All NBA is gone for next year. All Star is probably going to be gone for next year. MVP, out of question, right? So he's going to spend his offseason and his suspension continuing on work with his own mental health and decision-making, but he's going to continue to be training so I can be back on the court when ready, and I know that my teammates are going to hold it down, and I'm so sorry I won't be out there at the beginning of the season. I hope you'll give me the chance to prove to you over time I'm a better man than what I've been showing to you. And if you're a Grizzly fan or have followed Ja since he's been drafted, this is not this statement from Ja is him. Obviously, there was a whole thing before about the last statement that it was like a Chat GPT generated thing, which, again, that's a whole other issue that people will start to create on the internet. But if you know Ja Morant, you've seen him in interviews, you hear him talk, that is his words. I'd like to say with 95% confidence that is Ja Morant's words right there. And if you know him as well, being a Grizzly fan and seeing all this type of stuff, you know that this is not the person he is. He is a much better person than it's been in the past year. Obviously, some mental health issues happen. And look, it's okay to not be okay. It's just you got to find a part in your life to where you need help. And Ja's obviously going to be seeing this help through a full-time. They said that he will have 25-game suspension along with meeting certain requirements to be able to get back onto the court, which means kind of what Adam Silver had been alluding to for a while now about potentially, going through a rehabilitation program with the NBA directly involved. A bunch of this stuff could kind of go on to get Ja back on the court. But the big thing to announce with that, or not to announce, but to say about that, is the NBA Players Association released a statement immediately after Ja Morant's suspension length was announced. And basically, to kind of just sum it up, and I'll kind of quote a little bit from it. It said that Ja has expressed his remorse and accepted responsibility for his actions, and we support him unequivocally as he does whatever is necessary to represent himself, our players, and our league in the best possible light. There's a bunch more stuff, but it says right here that until which keeps him off the court until December and requires some unstated conditions to be met before he can return. We believe it is excessive and inappropriate for the number of reasons, including the facts involved in this particular incident, and that is not fair to and consistent with past discipline in our league. We will explore with Ja all options and next steps, which is AKA we're talking to Ja about appealing this and trying to get this number down, and I would not be surprised if the number goes down. Whether it's 25 to 20 or 25 to 15, I don't know. He's going to get suspended for an amount of games. I would not be surprised if this goes down to 19 or 18. Those two numbers are interesting to look at, because if you look at 19, he got suspended in March or April, whatever month that was, or whenever it was, might have even been May. Whenever he got suspended for the 8 games, yes, it was March. He got suspended for the 8 games. Doubling that is 19. I could see him doing hey, second time, we're going to double it. Third time, we're tripling it, type of thing. So I could see that kind of being a case. But interesting thing to note with that as well, on the NBA Players Association panel, the vice president of the NBPA is Jaren Jackson Jr., his teammate. So obviously it looks like his brother, his teammate, is going to war for him and trying to get him back on the right path. And like I said, I would not be surprised if this gets reduced down a couple of games, maybe even to 20. I could see that potentially happening. But if you're looking at it in the the grand scheme of things, out until December is not bad at all. The Grizzlies at the 25-game mark last year was without Jaren Jackson Jr. It was right after Jaren Jackson Jr. had gotten back, and they were either 19-6 or 16-9, right? I think it was 16-9. If you can replicate that without Ja next year, you're in the same spot you are going forward. Plus, you get a rested Ja for the first 25 games of the year. He's ready, fully ready to go. Had a full offseason of recovering and training and being in the right mental space, I guess you could say. And this being 25 games allows the Grizzlies to fully operate their offseason the way that they probably planned on doing it, whether Ja was going to be suspended or not, or had the incident as a whole. The Grizzlies can look at it and be like, 25 games, you know what? It's time to take that risk and go ahead and make these moves because 25 games isn't that detrimental to us. But that's kind of it on the Ja front. I just wanted to touch on that because that was kind of a big thing. And obviously most of you who are listening to this know that I'm a diehard Grizzlies fan. So I assume you kind of tuned in just to hear my opinion on that. But there was something that was even bigger that happened over the weekend. More importantly, today, as I'm recording on Sunday night. And that was we have all seen the rumors about Bradley Beal. And obviously it was time for him to get traded. We talked about it on last episode how both sides were looking to find a good trade partner. Bradley Beal had a no-trade clause, so it basically allowed him to pick out which team he wanted to go to, and more importantly, the return that the Wizards were getting. And it was reported on Saturday afternoon, I believe by Shams, or maybe Woj. It was one of the two. They said that it seemed like the Suns and the Heat were the final two teams in the running for Bradley Beal. And the Heat make all the sense in the world. It seems like the Heat been trying to get Bradley Beal for the past 3 years now. So that makes sense. But the Phoenix Suns was a very odd pick because if you look at it, Devin Booker is a very ball-dominant guard. And then your second guy is Kevin Durant, who is also a very ball-dominant point forward. So you're kind of in a weird situation here, but the Phoenix Suns ended up pulling the trigger. Bradley Beal obviously wanted to go to Phoenix, and they made it happen for him, and Bradley Beal is officially a Phoenix Sun. The trade was finalized on Sunday afternoon. It was reported by Woj. I caught this right before I was about to take a nap, so it kind of kept me up. It woke me up, so I'm kind of glad I saw this. But the trade is finalized to send All-Star guard Bradley Beal to the Phoenix Suns, and the return. This is the wild part about this. The return is reportedly to be Chris Paul, Landry Shamet, multiple second-round picks, and pick swaps. What? Like, you kidding me? That's all it took to get him? Obviously, there were reports saying that the price was going to be a lot lower than expected, and you'd be surprised how low he went. I wasn't thinking that low. Like, that's low. Like, I think if you're a Wizards fan, seeing that Kyle Lowry, Duncan Robinson, and a couple first-round picks package is like, hey, can we do that one, please? Like, compared to this, you're getting Chris Paul, which you're redirecting to another team or releasing. So you're basically getting no value there. Landry Shamet, very solid role player, which we're going to get into in a second. Very solid role player for the Suns, was a very solid role player for the Clippers, the 76ers. By the way, this is Landry Shamet's 5th year in the league that he just had. He's been on 4 teams in those 5 years. That's tough. But look, Landry Shamet and Chris Paul are not going to equal out to Bradley Beal, and you're probably like, okay, the picks are worth it. It said a haul of second-round picks or a multiple second-round picks. I don't know how many that is. Jay Crowder went for 5 second-round picks at the trade deadline. I'd assume it's no less than that. They got 5 for Jay Crowder, so why not just, hand them on over to Washington for that? And then pick swaps. That'll be more intriguing because you're looking at pick swaps probably in 2026 to start maybe. Looking at the way that they made the trade for Kevin Durant, your pick swaps probably start in 2026, maybe this year. I don't know. But if they start in 2026, you're probably in a better spot because You're expecting Bradley Beal to kind of decline by then, Kevin Durant to start to decline by then. And your cap space, you are in absolute hell right now with the new CBA. And one last thing, noting this from a Wizards standpoint, you better hope you get something good for Chris Paul here that involves draft capital. Otherwise, you'd completely flop this trade. I understand they were kind of backed into a corner on this and how they were going to complete this deal, but I don't know. That's just, I think you obviously could have gotten more from Miami, but if Beal wanted to go to Phoenix over Miami, this is kind of the reason behind it. But man, just looking at it from the Suns standpoint, sure, you're getting another all-star guard in Bradley Beal, right? You got Beal, you got Booker, you got Durant. That's cool. You got Ayton there as well, right? If you look at the current Phoenix Suns roster who are under contracts, it is Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton, and Cam Payne on a team option. Oh, they also got Jordan Goodwin in this trade as well. I'm sorry to forget about that. Jordan Goodwin, a point guard, who saw some limited action last year, was kind of a filler role for when people were hurt the year prior, and earned a contract. He's a solid guy as well, so that'll help the Suns. But those are your 5th and 6th men on the roster right now. You don't have anybody else. You don't have any more cap space. You're going to have to sign veteran minimum players. You're going to have to go out there. You're going to have to find the Jeff Greens. Not specifically Jeff Green, but the Jeff Greens, the JaVale McGee's, those types of people that are going to come in and play. I don't know how many people are going to end up signing for that low, or, I just don't know. You create this team now where you address an issue that isn't an issue. Right, Chris Paul isn't that much of a scorer, but that's when DeAndre Ayton started turning it around, is becoming a scorer. Chris Paul was a fantastic facilitator and a great playmaker, one of the greatest playmakers of all time, one of the greatest assist leaders of all time. But you get Bradley Beal, a guy who is, starting to switch into that role of a Chris Paul where he's trying to play make a little bit more. You saw towards the end of the year where his assist numbers were starting to increase a little bit, but the turnovers are there, right? Bradley Beal's always going to be a shot maker, right? That's him. Him and Devin Booker are the same player, except Devin Booker's younger and less injury prone. So, yeah, sure, you're going to score 140 a night. That's fine. But you're going to give up 150 a night with that. DeAndre Ayton can't play defense. We've seen that. His lack of effort has been very prominent to this team and has cost them a lot of games, especially that Denver series. Especially in that Denver series. Devin Booker, everyone knows his defense is atrocious. Bradley Beal, everyone knows his defense is atrocious. This is coming from a Bradley Beal guy, a Florida guy. And I'm even admitting that. Everybody knows Bradley Beal's defense is horrific. Sure, Kevin Durant is can hold his own on the defensive end, but if if Kevin Durant is your best defender, that's not a good sign going forward. But you're going to have to make another move, whether that's flipping DeAndre Ayton for more role players so you can fill out that depth. We've been talking about it since that series happened on this podcast, that the Suns are losing these games because they don't have the same depth Denver does. Devin and Kevin are going to have to score 50 a night. Remember the Devin and Kevin duo? We talked about it ad nauseum. They're going to have to score 50 a night for Phoenix to win. And what happened? They scored 45 each for 2 games, and they won. And then what happened? They came back down to reality. One of them didn't shoot well. The rest of the team crumbles. I don't know what's going to have to happen with Phoenix here. They're going to have to figure some things out. They're going to have to kind of shape up that team a little bit more and figure out how they work around this all-star studded lineup, I guess you could call it. It's an interesting one. Another thing to note here, kind of in the NBA sphere, I know we talked a lot. I told you it was going to be a short episode. We're probably going to wrap it up pretty quickly. It's going to be an NBA-heavy episode only. The Charlotte Hornets don't know what they're doing with a second overall pick. That's great to hear. It seems like they might trade it. That'd be interesting. But they are bringing in Brandon Miller and Scoot Henderson to work out and do interviews on Monday again. maybe to make their final decision on if they want to trade it, who they want to pick, if so. But the draft's on Thursday. Why do you not have a decision by now? Or why do you not have an idea by now? Obviously, the fit of Brandon Miller is perfect. I have it on my mock drafts that Brandon Miller will be the second pick because that's what I truly believe will happen. They'll pick for fit. But you look at Scoot Henderson and you cannot think of like Russell Westbrook when you watch him. You can't not think of that. Right? Like this kid is incredible. If Victor Wembanyama did not exist or was not in this draft class, Scoot Henderson is the number 1 overall pick. I saw somebody compared this to another situation online, which I can't agree with more, honestly. And this is just my opinion, but in 2019, the top 3 guys were Zion, Ja, and RJ. And then there was this whole narrative being created that RJ Barrett needed to be the guy drafted, was going to slide up to 2 with Memphis and needed to be the guy drafted at 2 over Ja. And everybody is just like, pick the better player. Just pick Ja. He's the better player. Just do it. Don't listen to all this other stuff. Just pick the better player. And I think that's kind of what's going on right now is, you know, a lot of people are saying, hey, Brandon Miller going to be the fit. He's going to play well against LaMelo. He won't crowd that backcourt a little bit. And people are just like, hey, look, Scoot Henderson is generational. Like, he's up there with Victor in how incredible he is. And I truly believe he's the second best player in this class. I really do. So why not just pick him and play him with LaMelo? LaMelo can score off the ball. LaMelo doesn't have to rely on his playmaking skills to be the player he is. LaMelo Ball is a scoring first guard. Scoot Henderson is a defensive and playmaking first guard who loves to drive. LaMelo loves to shoot and play make. It can work if you get the right coaching and the right system and right players around him. Obviously, you can trade this pick, which that would be a lot more interesting, I'd say. But if you're going to pick here, I would pick Scoot Henderson. I still think they go Brandon Miller, but I would pick Scoot and hope, because you see a lot of times where a backcourt duo, you know, becomes the final death of teams, where you got 2 guys who want the ball in their hands all the time. And both guys need to have the ball in their hands to score. When in this situation, both guys don't need the ball in their hands all the time, especially when Scoot's a better defender than he is anything offensively, in my opinion. It'll be interesting. But that's the NBA draft that's going to be on Thursday. Once again, I'm going to come out with my mock draft, my final mock draft on Wednesday. There will be an episode on Wednesday. Might be Wednesday afternoon or evening that'll come out. I don't know when I'm going to come out with it, but there will be a final episode before the NBA draft with my final mock draft. Right now, you can go to my website, yoursportsdigest.com. It's linked under everything in my social media. So go to any of my social medias and go find that link if you don't know. It's not hard to find. It's literally yoursportsdigest.com. It's my name.com. Just search it up. I have my mock draft in there. I have my big board of players. I have my free agency tracker that I will be updating as all of these player options are accepted or declined. We'll be doing all this type of stuff throughout the offseason. It's going to be a fun offseason. Things are kicking off. Everybody said that this offseason is going to be dull because the free agency class isn't the greatest. No. That's not how things work here in the NBA. The less exciting means the better production. When there's less players that are desired for, the crazier things happen. Chandler Parsons and Timofey Mozgov both signed for $80 million plus contracts in an offseason as top players. Things are about to get wild in the NBA. That's all I'm going to talk about. I know there's college baseball, but things aren't even done yet. We'll catch up on that on Friday to get you guys there. Please pay attention to all my social medias. Be ready for an episode on Wednesday at some point. I'll post it everywhere. And again, just check out the mock draft. Just check out my TikToks. Check out everything. Just show some love. I appreciate all the love you guys have been showing so far. It's going to be a little quick one, 25 minutes trying to get you guys out of here. Give you something to listen to real quick so it's not a long, full, lengthy episode. But that's going to do it for this week. Stay on the lookout for Wednesday's mock draft before the NBA draft on Thursday. I'm Alex McNinch, and you just got your Sports Digest.